Hi, Shalom, friends. You know, our Holy Torah is eternal, and as a result of its eternity, that means in every generation and every single person can find a lesson and a message in the Torah. We just recently read in chapter 32 of the book of Genesis a fascinating story, and I would like to share with you two thoughts that came to mind. Of course, there are numerous, and maybe the word countless, thoughts that can come to the mind using the commentators and actually your own meditation. But I would like to share with you two that struck me. So we're in chapter 32, and it's the verses from 23 through 31. I'll remind you of the story. Jacob has a brother whose name is Esav. They left on not good terms. And Jacob hasn't seen his brother for 22 years. He's in a different country. When he left, he was single, but now he's already, at the 22 years, he developed a very large family. He became very wealthy. And he's on his way back to his homeland, which is the land of Israel. He hasn't seen his father for 22 years, and he's eagerly anticipating the reunion with his father, but he's a little bit worried about his brother, because is his brother still filled with envy and hatred. So he sends him a gift, and then the passage that we're going to talk about tells a story that in order to continue on his journey, he had to pass over a small river, or maybe it was a large creek, I do not know. And what he does is, verse 23, that night he takes his wives and his 11 sons, and he crosses the ford of Yabok. And he sends over all of his possessions, because he's transferring from one place to another. You have to go through this body of water. But then Jacob was left alone, and a man came and wrestled with him until dawn. And the entire night they're wrestling, and the stranger cannot make Jacob fall to the ground to vanquish him. So he basically wounds him. He dislocates his hip, but he still cannot make Jacob fall until the morning comes, and essentially he concedes that Jacob is stronger than he is, and he was not successful in having him fall. So Jacob says, before I let you go, I want a blessing from you. So he says, the blessing will be that you have now a second name to your personality. Instead of Jacob, it's Israel. In Hebrew, Israel means a person that has godly energy, Sar El, someone that has the Prince of God within him. And then Yakov says to the stranger, and what's your name? And he says, why are you asking? And he leaves. It's a fascinating story, very mysterious, especially based on, we don't know, is this a man? And if it's a man, who is this man? Where did he come from? And why does he have to leave at dawn? And why does Jacob want a blessing from someone who wanted to mug him or something to that effect? So the sages read into this deep meanings, and one of them was that it actually was an angel that came in the form of a man, or a type of a physical something or other, and it was the spirit of his brother Esav. So spiritually, the older brother wanted to vanquish the younger brother, Jacob, but was not successful. So the angel says, okay, I'm leaving. I was not successful. I see you have a godly energy. But Yaakov remains wounded until God, and he's limping until God heals him. This is a beautiful story. What can we learn from this? So I'd like to point two lessons. Lesson number one. When you read the passage, it's very clear. He's traveling with a large family and with much of his possessions. And when he finishes traveling, passing over his wives and his 11 children, he stays alone. Why is he alone? So the rabbis say he left over some of his possessions. Aha! How many of us leave our families to get more possessions? Just think to yourself. You have a precious family, you have a wife, you have children, maybe you have an extended family, but you're not there. Why are you not there? Because you're working. Why are you working? Very often you have the necessities, but you need more, or you think you need more. Very often we cause harm to ourselves. Our protection and our strength and the stability in our life comes from being part of a wholesome unit. But when you are alone, you're in danger, my friend. A angel, a spirit, an idea will come and wrestle with you and try essentially to throw you to the floor. I am sure you have met such people, but I could tell you I have met such people who are in their late middle ages. Now, I'm not talking in middle ages in the back, but let's say in the 50s, and they say they don't really have regrets, but if they were able to fix the past, they would have spent more time with the kids growing up. Because even though they have a nice relationship, you cannot undo the lack that I was not there for their graduation, I did not do homework with them, when they had their petty issues in school, I was not there for them. So they forgave you and they matured and they love you. And you love them, and yet that essential bond, which comes from being there, just being there, is not there. And I see this hinted in the idea of he transfers the family from one side to the other, and he doesn't stay with them. No, I forgot something. I have to go back. Dad, we could live without it. No, I have to go. I spent a lot of time and effort in acquiring it. And when you are alone, that is when you're in a precarious situation. And therefore, that's why I think, at least it talks to me, why God did not heal him immediately. It's only a little bit later that he's healed. Why? Because Hashem was hinting through the story of Jacob to us that, yes, you could still have a wholesome family, but it will never be complete. Okay. The second lesson, which is really, I believe, even more fundamental. Yakov is wrestling an entire night with a man. I would like to and this man has no name. Could you imagine trying to do this in real life? I was held up. I'm sorry, I came late. Someone stopped me. Who's the someone? Oh, he has no name. Well, could you describe him for me? No, I can't. It was just a person. And that kept you up a whole night? It's just so odd. He's wrestling with some type of an energy an entire night who wants to destroy him, throw him to the ground. But when Yakov says, identify yourself, he says, why are you even asking? And he leaves. For me, the message is, if I asked you, what are you wrestling with? What keeps you up at night? If I could ask myself the same question. And I get a vague answer. I don't know, I'm just nervous. Nervous about what? I don't know, I just feel anxious. Anxious about what? About life. Well, what part of life? I don't know. It's just, when you cannot identify a problem, why are you wrestling with it? If you understand, like the sages have so aptly put it, if you ask an intelligent question, you already are close to half of the answer. But if you don't know what you're questioning, how can you ever get an answer? If you say to a person, for example, Tomorrow you have a I don't know, an appointment. Let's say you're looking for a job. Okay, what do they call an interview for a job? An interview. And you can't sleep. So your best friend says to you, "Why are you anxious?" He says, I don't know. I have this big interview tomorrow." Okay, what are you going to be talking about? About my profession. I have a master's in mathematics, and I have this and this, and I want to become one of the appointees to look at the finances. Okay, well, do you know your mathematics? Yes. Do you know your accounting? Yes. So what are you worried about? I don't know. I'm just worried. You understand? When you come to, if you could identify what you're worried about, you could try to strengthen yourself. But if you don't know what you're worried about, how are you ever going to get rid of it? So he's wrestling an entire night, and at the end he says, "Tell me your name. What was I wrestling?" And the response is, "I don't even have a name." So if me and you are anxious about something, why don't we should really stop and reflect. What am I nervous about? I'm worried that I'm losing contact with my family. If that's what you're worried about, then you already know the solution. Spend more time with them. If you're worried about I'm getting less customers, if you could identify that, not as a vague feeling, but practically speaking, so now you know what the issue is. You could try more advertising. You could try a change of presentation, maybe location. Maybe you should look for another. But if you're just nervous, something doesn't feel right. What doesn't feel right? To me, that is the opposite of Jacob. And perhaps that's why he tells Jacob, your name will be changed. You have the power of God inside of you. There's nothing to worry about. So the solution for vague anxiety, nebulous worry, I don't know, I think the world's going to fall apart, is strengthen your faith in God. If you could identify what the problem is, then fix it. And if it cannot be fixed, find an alternative. But just to muddle through life and wrestling at night with a non-entity, there's nothing to identify, is really doomed to failure. And it will hold you back. So that's my take on this particular story. And I wish myself as well as others that with the greater level of we are all Israel, Yisrael, we have Sar-El, we have the power and the Prince of God within us, we'll be able to overcome all the challenges and all trials. And with this, we'll have a much more settled life, a more pleasant life, a happier life. And I wish you and myself this blessing. Shalom.